Who is they, though, in this statement? Well, the statement starts with a they let them in the country, referring to Democrats. When they do that, we got a lot of work to do. Democrats, they're poisoning the blood of the country. The entire time, the entire context of his statement is Democrats are poisoning the blood of the country. Now, there's a couple of ways to interpret this.
He's doing like a segment about how people don't have reading comprehension when he can't comprehend what he's reading in real time. Finish the sentence, Tim, for the love of God. He specifies what he means. It's right in front of you. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we all think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. Who is the they, Tim? Democrats. He means Democrats. He's talking about Democrats, okay? Of course, all of you are like, he quoted Hitler. Sure, but Hitler was talking about different things. He's talking about Democrats, clearly. You know, if you don't finish the sentence and isolate one little part at the very start of it and only think about that part and don't actually use English as a language or sentence structure.
You can all check it out at youtube.com/TimCastIRL. We were joined on stage at TPUSA's America Fest. We had Tucker Carlson, James O'Keefe, Charlie Kirk, and of course, the ragtag bunch you know and love, Ian Crossland, Seamus Coughlin, Luke Rutkowski, and I. And we talked a lot about where we're headed. Donald Trump, who his VP pick is going to be. And we're heading into 2024.
Hitler's
it's going to be a wild year. And I'm asked, what's the point of the election? And I said, to win. Yeah, but do you really think, Tim, there will be a fair election? And my answer is no. I don't think...
Well, I mean, it kind of sucks when you predicted that there was going to be a 49-state landslide, and then you were just so objectively wrong that everyone made fun of you for it. So now you got to be like, well, yeah, I can't say the election was stolen on YouTube, so, you know, come to my proprietary website. But,
elections are fair. I mean, I guess they're fair in the sense that all is fair in love and war, right? But what I mean is, everybody's got their dirty tricks to play. There's going to be a lot of political gamesmanship, policy and procedure. So define fair. The point is, you go out and vote, you register people to vote, and Trump can't lose. Now, I think the reality...
He can't lose. That kind of sounds like something someone who's trying to rig an election would say. I got to be honest.
The reality is that no matter what happens, the Democrats will deny the results. I believe if the Democrats win, Republicans will also deny the results. So, should be interesting. I think Kamala and Biden might be throwaway candidates. They know they're going to get steamrolled in the election. I really don't see the Democrats winning this. I think it's fair to say Trump's going to win re-election. I think Trump might have a massive, massive victory, which shocks the left. I think we're looking at a Trump victory, man. Trump 2020 landslide, even with everything going on with COVID. I think that's what we can expect. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Trump had a 49-state landslide. I think we could see a 49-state landslide. We may be looking at a Mondale-Reagan type scenario where Trump landslides 49 states. And we may see a 49-state landslide, maybe a 50-state landslide. That'd be amazing. I think we might be seeing a 49-state landslide. I just really think it's more likely that Trump wins 520 electoral votes. No amount of mail-in ballots will matter. If Trump gets 537 or 36 or even 538 every single electoral vote. We all know Joe Biden will lose. Like, let's be real, man. As I've stated 1,000,001 times, Donald Trump's gonna win. The Republicans are gonna sweep. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden has defeated Donald Trump.
And as fun as crab dancing can be, right? I just wanted to point out how ridiculous a lot of those predictions were. And at this time, though, yes, there is certainly a lot, I'd say, better argument to be made that Joe Biden is in trouble, especially because of the fact that he's just going so heavy-handed into the whole genocide thing, alienating a lot of his base, alienating a lot of his voting base, alienating key swing state voters, especially Arab and Muslim voters who are necessary to win in certain states, who are obviously now just their support for Donald Trump, understandably, is plummeting. For Joe Biden is plummeting to fucking nothing. Yes, that is of concern if you want Joe Biden to win, and it's actually looking really, really bad right now. But, like, again, these are polls for an election that is still quite a long ways away. But, yeah, the point of the story is to bring up how Trump is kind of doing the, you know, Trittler stuff.
Bear's dirty mouth. Do you know? Here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. Trump's Hitler-esque immigration with this segment from Stephen Colbert's Dirty Mouth.
I just wanted to get that. That's a good soundbite right there. Stephen Colbert's Dirty Mouth.
Stephen Colbert goes off on Trump's Hitler-esque immigration comments. Hitler-esque. Oh boy. Here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. MSNBC says, Donald Trump has truly earned comparisons to Adolf Hitler. Do you know what's going on with this story and why they're saying it? You may have seen it in the news before, but I'm going to break it down for you because we've got developments pertaining to the immigration crisis in Chicago, New York, and this country, but particularly how Chicago and New York are handling it. Right now.
Oh, that just reminded me. Did he issue retractions or corrections on any of his fear-mongering that he's been doing for like years now? Not just him, by the way. A lot of people, TYT included, are doing this whole thing where it's like, there are roving gangs and they're destroying everything. They're destroying Macy's. They're destroying Target. They're stealing. Shoplifting is out of control. Shoplifting accounts for 95% of all of the losses made into these industries this year. So just recently it came out that was all bullshit. I mean, independent investigations were already pointed that out. They're like, if you look at the Targets that have closed down, they're closing down in areas where they actually have lower rates of shoplifting than Targets that are remaining open that have higher rates of shoplifting. Where they are closing down or in some cases predominantly black neighborhoods or poorer neighborhoods where people can't afford to buy a lot of their products. And there's also a lot of factors called shrink, you know, there's that whole thing. But that plays a lot bigger role here than shoplifting. In fact, in most of these cases, there were Targets that were left open that had more shoplifting than the ones that were closed. But no retractions on that whole stuff, right? Because it keeps people really scared. It does. When you see it, it's scary. You know, it's like, oh God, look at these roving gangs of people stealing baby formula and diapers. And now they have to lock it all up. And now they're locking everything up. You know, when you go shopping in the US, they've even got fucking like, you know, keychain locks on oil and olive oil and shit like that.
You have Brandon Johnson of Chicago, a far leftist, screaming and begging on camera saying this migrant crisis is destroying us. You have local Democrat voters in Chicago in the black community demanding that these migrants stop being allowed to come in and stop taking their resources. You
can just do like the white supremacy for yourself. You don't have to pull other people into it. You could just be like, I don't like immigrants and leave it there. You know, you don't have to be like, there's members of the black community that agree with me too. So what do you have to say about that? Libs, checkmate. Yeah.
The city's saying, actually, do I have this one pulled up? Chicago will impound buses that are bringing migrants in. Now, of course, these people in these mayors, Chicago, New York.
These people.
You know, they're blaming Republicans for this. Nice try. It don't fly. The residents, the Democrats, they're saying no. Hence.
You could bring that up.
Joe Biden. I haven't pulled up the latest polls, but there was a story from a couple weeks ago. Joe Biden is leading Trump in New York by 10 points. And that is bad news for Joe Biden. Now, of course, the average person says, what? He's winning by 10 points. It's massive. And New York is D plus 27. Now, that's shocking. Worrying still for Democrats, or worrisome still, is that Donald Trump has a massive lead in swing states and a massive lead among voters who did not vote in 2020. Now, I've been safely here in my
compound,
Western Maryland / West Virginia properties, where the only thing I have to worry about in terms of illegal border crossings is the deer. They come onto my property and they eat my grapes. They're eating every.
I guess I was illegal. Legal. I was a foreign entity, but I legally came into the country. I was approved.
It's just new. In fact, we doing our analytics over at timcast.com, the largest region that we have.
Fuck his grapes. Go deer. Yeah. No, we're team deer. Definitely.
Is Chicago. More viewers from Chicago than anywhere else, though it's not the majority. The stories I'm hearing are horrifying. Police stations full of migrants. Buses coming in. Migrant centers. I guess they're canceling one. It's insane. The people I know, they're saying it's crazy. The homeless camps everywhere. They're seeing migrants being given golden treatment, free food, free shelter. The homeless are being.
I'm sorry. Can you put it on the screen or something? Like, do you have a link to any of this? I mean, that sounds incredible. You just go to the United States as an immigrant and you get the golden treatment.
Ignored. It is. I don't think people understand. But when you see Brandon Johnson losing at the mayor, screaming in a new video about how it's Greg Abbott's fault, let me just say this. When regular Americans in major urban cities are shrieking about the immigration crisis, and then Donald Trump comes out.
Okay, so apparently communist Biden is like allowing tons and tons of immigrants, like record numbers, the likes of which no one's ever seen before, to U.S. Forbes. Recent news coverage indicates illegal immigration gets less attention when it falls. Articles about a significant drop in illegal entry in recent months have been less noticeable than the earlier stories, which often appears at the front page when numbers at the border spike. Border Patrol encounters at the southwest border declined by 55% between December 2022 and June 2023. In January 2023, the Biden administration announced parole programs for up to 30,000 individuals a month from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. By the way, this is different than simply illegal immigration. To enter the United States with a U.S. sponsor. The parole programs produce an almost unprecedented effectiveness in reducing illegal entry as measured by encounters with Border Patrol agents. The policies were also more humane than alternative approaches. After the Biden administration provided the legal pathway via the new parole programs, Border Patrol encounters at the southwest border declined by 95% from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela as a group between December 2022 and March 2023. Numbers remained low for 3 or 4 countries through June 2023. But I hear that all these countries, like all these states, are getting overrun and the cities are out of control, and apparently Texas is overflooded with all of these immigrants from these bad countries, and then they're getting all of this free shit, and that's homeless crisis or something, and shoplifting, and be afraid and scared, and immigrants super bad. Well, good to know.
And says strongly, we've got to deal with the immigration problem, 15 or 16 million. And then you see the corporate press and the likes of Colbert come out and say, oh, Trump is being Hitler. Do you know who the odd person out here is? It ain't Donald Trump. Donald Trump said something to the effect of it's poisoning the blood. They are poisoning the blood of this country. And the argument here is that the corporate press saying Trump says immigrants are, and Republicans saying no, he's referring to Democrats allowing all of these policies that result in fentanyl and trafficking. Spare us.
So it doesn't matter if he uses terms from like Mein Kampf, as long as he's using terms from Mein Kampf to go after the things you don't like. Isn't that the whole problem? Isn't that how you lead to the rise of fascism? The dehumanization of certain groups, say like Jewish people, by referring to them as cockroaches or other animals or vermin, and then blaming all of society's problems on them in order to try and use it as a scapegoat as you have an authoritarian strongman come to power in an economic turmoil. That whole thing, that it's the bad thing. We can all agree. They're the baddies. That was a bad thing.
Because they said in 1925, Hitler said the same thing. Okay. Let's talk about it, though. Because I'll say this before we get started. On this current track, with the way the corporate press is responding, with the scale of the crisis, Donald Trump cannot lose 2024 on the merits.
So the good news is when you watch this, you can ignore all of his predictions. That, I mean, they could be right, but there's no way of knowing their accuracy. So it's the same as him just talking complete nonsense, right? If he's like, I get a profound anger from the color red because it reminds me of the emotions of the galaxy. Like, doesn't matter what he's saying. You could be like, yeah, sure. But that it doesn't have any bearing on reality, that part. The scary part is that a lot of people will watch him, and the normalization of, again, Hitler's rhetoric. I feel so much these days that you gotta actually say so many things that Nazis are the bad guys. Nazis are bad. White supremacy bad. They're the fascists were the bad guys. They did terrible things. The Holocaust was bad. It was terrible. Anti-Semitism's bad. Racism's bad. Going after LGBTQ plus people simply for existing and trying to exterminate them off the face of the earth. All bad. Terrible things. Using Hitler's rhetoric. Bad. Really bad. Yeah, and if you see people using it, even in a jovial, playful, or cheeky way, like a wink, Mums for Liberty, it's really fucking bad. You're probably looking at people who think Nazis are kind of okay, or at least fun to play around with or joke around with, right? Where it's like, no, they're antithetical to the survival of humanity. They're like, no.
Notice I said on the merits, because you get what that means. Donald Trump cannot lose based on the argument And I'll tell you this, I believe that on the argument, Trump won in 2020. I think Tucker Carlson said something similar last night on Timcast IRL. When it comes to talking to a person who knows politics.
By the way, let's say the actual quote. Donald Trump said, "They're poisoning the blood of our country. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world." He's also being pretty specific here.
If you remove politics from the question, politicians, and just ask them A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, which one do you want? They always choose Trump policies. But many of them don't like Trump. And then you also had procedural rule changes and things like that that greatly benefited Democrats. So the merits are not the only thing you need to win an election. The votes are. But let's read this. And I want to show you the extent and the seriousness of this crisis as it escalates and how the corporate press is responding. Before we get started, my friends, head over to thebestsongever.com. Click the link.
Oh, God, no, thank you. A Vanity Fair interview with Donald Trump's late first wife, Ivana Trump, has resurfaced in which she alleges that her former spouse used to keep a book of Adolf Hitler's speeches in his bedside cabinet. The article from September 1990 has reappeared in the wake of his Republican presidential contender coming under fire for saying immigrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country in a speech. The 1990 feature, written by Mary Brenner, recounts last April, perhaps a surge of Czech nationalism. Ivana Trump told her lawyer, Michael Kennedy, from time to time her husband reads a book of Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order, which he keeps in the cabinet by his bed. Interesting.
Guy. You know, I tweeted about this, and then everyone posts that vaccine video, which really is dystopian and terrifying if you really think about it. But sure, okay. Colbert is a psychotic individual. He really is.
He's just like a milquetoast boring liberal now. That's it. That's the most you can levy at him.
Here we go. As if being compared to Hitler and Mussolini by top psychologists wasn't enough for Donald Trump, and as if we care, to be honest, but let's keep reading. The embattled former wannabe president decided to echo some of der.
So, according to a scholar of authoritarianism and fascism, Ruth Ben-Ghet, a scholar of authoritarianism, the author of Strongmen, Mussolini to the Present, quote, the Nazis made the fear of blood pollution of their master race and their civilization a foundational of their state. Italian fascists talked about the threat of non-white immigrants coming in to ruin white civilization. Trump is referencing and prolonging and echoing fascist rhetoric.
Führer's most xenophobic language when he went on a rant about immigration over the weekend. Oh, I love this. Stephen Colbert was rendered nearly speechless after hearing Trump's tirade. It's beginning to look a lot like the statement. Here's what I got to say.
Like, hey, don't get me wrong. It's totally fine to laugh at the libs being cringe or whatever. We do it a bit on this show. It can be fun from time to time. There's nothing wrong with someone being like, so that's pretty fucked up, eh? The potential future president of the United States is just doing a Hitler. Like, and after he'd already been joked, by the way, but after he'd already joked that he's going to be a dictator day one, he's like, oh, just for one day. Yeah, I'll rescind power after. But yeah, one day dictator kind of shit.
You know, Trump, I think he could always go for a little bit more tact. He could do a better job, but you know, it is what it is.
Is it really that high of a bar? Don't do Hitler's, like, don't quote Hitler, don't reference Hitler, don't give parts of Hitler's books and speeches, that kind of shit. I don't think that's a big ask. I think that's pretty easy. Most politicians avoid it, even the really far right ones.
It's whatever. Listen, the use of terms don't mean much to me. Nobody likes Hitler, okay? That's stupid. And you keep comparing Trump to him over and over again. You're like Chicken Little, or I don't know, what was that? The sky was falling.
The boy who cried wolf. Dumb fuck.
You're like the boy who cried wolf. It's probably
there
the better
you go.
one.
You got there.
Yet nobody.
No, it's the one. It's the one you were referencing at the start.
Listen to
Maybe
Chicken
Little
screeching like a banshee that Trump is Hitler. And I can already hear the leftists going now, yeah.
No one is saying Trump and Adolf Hitler are the exact same person. It's a clone. Whoa, I'm seeing double. They're the same thing. It's that he's giving a nod to probably the most famous fascist dictator in human history and using his words and rhetoric. That's not good. That's not funny. That's not something people should like just take lightly or just suddenly be like, oh, okay, well, this is the same rhetoric that led to a lot of horrifying things in human history. It is. It is. It's the same kind of rhetoric. Yep. Vilifying and you know, dehumanizing a specific group in order to, again, allow for the rise of an authoritarian figure, and then the militarization of that country in their pursuit of this scapegoat. And then they're trying to eliminate those scapegoats in order, in this case, it's to preserve Western civilization. They're adding the term Western to it because, again, that's been kind of the dog whistle that a lot of these people have used for a while. Like, our civilization is superior to other civilizations. We're the one true civilization. Civilization power. Well, Western civilization power, I mean. Yeah, I mean, you can replace that whole thing for white. You know, you're doing the white power shit, all of you are, and then you're just adding Western civilization. Well, no, that's why you keep saying it's a race thing. People from other races can be Americans as long as we stop them from ever entering the country because they come from bad parts of the world. Those bad parts of the world are demonized. They're coming here to rape us and poison our blood and take our women.
No, it's not. Trump did so little to exert authority when he was president. I mean it. I mean it. You had these mass riots, and what did Trump do? Exactly. Trump.
You were getting off on how he was begging and taking people. You were super excited about that.
Is not the dictator they claim he is. Meanwhile, you have this country facing its destruction. 15 to 16 million migrants. Let me show you what Trump actually said. NBC News says Trump's.
Your country would destroy itself and cease to exist if you suddenly got rid of all the immigrant workforce. Who do you think are picking the fruit? Who do you think are tending the fields and the crops? Like, I know you have your own chickens and the occasional deer eventually is going to start stealing your wild berries, but you still buy food at the grocery store, don't you? Like, you depend on cheap labor. It's a requirement for a lot of the systems to function as they do. And when there's problems, say like massive lockdowns or people not available to come into the country because of those Trump border wall problems, yeah, you realize how much it fucks up the entire system itself. Yeah, my grape's gone.
Are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country. Biden campaign likens comments to Hitler. Keep doing it. Keep doing it, please. Because I got to tell you, when you look at the polling on immigration, when you look at the mayors of New York and Chicago screaming about how bad immigration is, and then Trump comes out after them, do you really think this is going to resonate with regular people? Here's what Trump really said. They let, I think the real number is 15 to 16 million people into our country. When they do that, we got a lot of work to do. They're poisoning the blood of our country. Oh, well, the context is a little bit different, isn't it? You see, how is it?
Whoa, you didn't finish it, Tim. Keep reading. Check this out. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just 2, 3, or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world.
Oh.
But yeah, if you just read this part, it's like he's just talking about immigration, like it's just normal shit, you know?
Well, the context is a little bit different, isn't it? You see,
well, yeah, when you cherry pick the quotes and don't finish reading, it is, yes. It does sound better if you just think, I think the real number, 15, 16 million people to our country. When they do that, we got a lot of work to do. Just read that part. Just that part on its own. And it's like, oh, it doesn't sound as bad as everyone's making it out. Oh, they're always calling everyone Nazis.
How is it that NBC News decided they will interpret what Trump meant? That's what I find fascinating. Is it possible?
That's what you're doing right now. You want to highlight just this part, ignore the rest, the part that everyone's talking about, and then be like, is this really that wild?
Isn't it likely that Donald Trump was saying immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country? Absolutely. And I think that would be a reasonable assessment.
Wow. Man, they're all so far gone now, you know? It used to be like the shit that like Richard Spencer or Nick Fuentes would say. That wasn't like, you know, echoed amongst all the other like, you know, right-wing hosts and pundits. Like Steven Crowder wasn't just immediately being like, yeah, it's the Jews. And then Jordan Peele's like, no, I told you already, it's the lizard people trying to take grandma's brush away from me. But like now all of them, they just echoed the sentiments. This is kind of like the shit that used to be like relegated to 4chan or Stormfront or stuff like that. Now all of a sudden it's like, you know, is it unreasonable for the president to have suggested that, immigrants specifically from countries in Africa are poisoning the blood of our country? I mean, I don't think that's an unfair assessment. I think we can kind of take a look at it and just, call a spade here.
I get what NBC News is saying, but allow me, my friends, to be an objective journalist for all of you.
We finally have a joke.
Real headline for the story is, Trump makes quote about Democrats and policy, says blood of country being poisoned. And the reason why you have to do it that way is to understand the basic context of human language.
Sure, Tim. Who is doing the poisoning? Who's doing the poisoning, Tim? Who's poisoning the blood of the nation? You see, my friends, when they were saying blood and soil, Jews go home. Blood and soil, Jews go home. What did they really mean? A lot of people want to tell you this is anti-Semitic. A lot of people want to tell you this is racist. But like, when you get down to its core, have we not all toiled the soil at one point in our lives? Have you not tried to plant like a tulip or something like that and found it difficult? Now, if you were to suggest that one group or another was making the toiling of the soil difficult, is that really a call for extermination or anything like that? Like, you can understand that there's subtext, there's English, there's grammar, there's more to this. You just don't get it.
They let, I think the real number is 15 to 16 million people into our country. When they do that, we got a lot of work to do. Okay. Who is they, though? Who is they, though, in this statement? Well, the statement starts with a they let them in the country, referring to Democrats. When they do that, we got a lot of work to do. Democrats, they're poisoning the blood of the country. The entire time, the entire context of his statement is Democrats are poisoning the blood of the country. Now, there's a couple of ways to interpret this. Donald Trump is
Democrats from Africa, from Asia, from all over the world, from South America, those South American Democrats, and then more Democrats coming in from a whole bunch of countries in Africa.
Saying Democrat policy is poisoning the blood of this country. By all means, compare the poisoning blood or whatever to Hitler. It's still something Hitler said. But you see how they play this game where they say Trump says immigrants are doing this. By all means, I really don't care if you want.
He's doing like a segment about how people don't have reading comprehension when he can't comprehend what he's reading in real time. Finish the sentence, Tim, for the love of God. He specifies what he means. It's right in front of you. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just to 3 or 4 countries that we all think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. Who is the they, Tim? Democrats. He means Democrats. He's talking about Democrats, okay? Of course, all of you are like, he quoted Hitler. Sure, but Hitler was talking about different things. He's talking about Democrats. Clearly, you know, if you don't finish the sentence and isolate one little part, the very start of it, and only think about that part and don't actually use English as a language or sentence structure.
I want to say that and keep calling Trump Hitler and all that. I got to tell you.
Got to.
Let me show you this video.
All right.
Let me, we got an amazing post from Ashley St. Clair, actually. Do I not have the video? Okay, here we go. I'm sorry. Let me show you this video. And then let's try and understand what we think is going to happen with...
No, I just want to get to the end of this.
It says, I am a diamond medallion in Delta, and I want an answer to this question. So when Donald Trump says something as...
So once again, it's like he has all these lofty claims. He's talking about something very serious. And in this case, yeah, we're talking about, the fascist rhetoric being utilized by a presidential candidate, previously the president of the United States. That's very scary. But he doesn't actually produce any of like the facts or the figures or the stats of the stuff that's actually relevant to this conversation. Like, hey, by the way, for Trump to have said that, it's actually a half truth, because if he is saying that immigrants are coming primarily from these specific countries and or continents and they commit crime, then I can look towards these statistics right here that'll show you that shows that in fact he's not just being a racist, he's not just trying to be a xenophobic asshole who's going after specific people in specific areas of the world, sometimes because they happen to be black or brown. He's actually specifically stating something that is based in fact. Here you go. You know, that's very different than just being like, so here's a couple funny Twitter quotes from some of my other fashy friends. This one was funny. Here's end wokeness. Here's them. And then, okay, back. So anyways, he's not Hitler. Why are people saying he's Hitler? In fact, I kind of agree with what he's saying at the end of the day.
Shocking. You've walked right into his trap. Yeah, look, I don't like language that is similar or whatever to like Hitlerian ideas or whatever you want to call it. You can criticize Trump all day and night. Fine, whatever. Hitler liked dogs. He was an artist and he drank water.
There's
a lot of things you can point to an evil man.
They're
poisoning the...
Last night,
Go right to it. There goes the Hitler apologia. You get there eventually, right? And then in this case, it's like, okay, so a guy is actually using the exact same rhetoric to vilify groups as Hitler did, and using the same language as, again, Hitler did. And we now know, based on testimony that his ex-wife had given, that he actually read Hitler quotes. So we know he's not just making this up off the cuff, and it's just a complete random assortment of words that came together. But then it's like, Hitler also liked water. He consumed water. He turned carbon into energy. Did Trump do that? You know, he liked dogs. Liked to painted a dog. You know, so does that mean anyone who paints is a Hitler? You know, blah, 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 blah. No one's saying that. No one's like, Trump likes to paint, and that makes him Hitler. Trump likes dogs, and that makes him Hitler. It doesn't. He probably hates both, but either way, no one's saying that. And if I'd agree with you, if people were saying that, it would be ridiculous. Then it would be like, well, yeah, that's a very loose connection. If he's literally taking Hitler quotes or using the same language and rhetoric of Hitler, in this case, it's not to vilify specifically Jewish people, it's to vilify immigrants as the cause that Trump wants to go after. That's what he's being called out for. Yeah, that's what you're downplaying by trying to be like, well, I mean, Hitler liked milk and Trump likes milk. Does that make him Hitler?
well,
Causation.
there you go.
Correlation. Ipso
So it
facto.
may be the case that Trump is dangerously close to Hitlerian speech, whatever.
Not dangerously close. He's using it.
You think a 50-year-old mom in Chicago knows or cares? I'll tell you what happened.
But do you? Because the whole point of the segment is that you don't give a fuck, and neither does anybody else, and that's why this is sad and or cringe and not going to work, right? Like, oh, look at what the libs are doing. Look at what the Democrats, the sheeple, are believing. They're all believing right now that Trump bad, yeah, because apparently he's Hitler or something, or used language or terms that Hitler did and all that kind of stuff. But, like, do you think anyone else believes it? Huh? No one else does. You losers.
You got these moms, especially in black neighborhoods, and they're
Again.
saying, why is my child's school overrun with illegal immigrants? I'm not kidding. They're putting illegal immigrants in school gyms. So you got some 12-year-old going to school and they're...
What are you talking about? What are you talking... They're putting illegal immigrants inside 12-year-olds' gyms? What?
A bunch of non-citizens sleeping in the school? Parents are probably getting angry. Homeschool your kids, by the way. And then Donald Trump comes out and
Homeschool your kids, so you might not just turn around the corner and suddenly there's an immigrant standing before you.
says, you see what they're doing? They've got 15 to 16 million coming in this country.
All right, I'll be honest. That's not bad. That's better than I thought it was going. That's better than any fucking impression I've ever seen Tim Pool do. You're like, obviously, I'd workshop it a bit more, but it's not a bad Trump. Yeah, I mean, see what I'm doing? I'm accurately criticizing the very things that are happening before my eyes and ears as they happen, and not suddenly being like, a lot of people want to criticize Tim Pool because they think he can't do a Trump impression. But I ask you, can he wear a beanie? Because, I mean, that's what people care about. No one cares about his Trump impression. But they do want to know, can the man wear a beanie? Does he have more than one? Does he wear the same beanie every day? Is the beanie glued to the top of his head to prevent people who have previously successfully pulled it off from doing that a second time? We may never know.
Illegal immigrants. And you know what? He can say anything because the regular people are like, the Democrats keep defending this. I've got to vote Republican. You ask yourself how it is that Miami flipped Republican. Well, look no further, my friends. It is the policy like this. You know, look, Ron DeSantis as a governor, tremendous job. He's a good dude. He's a politician. His campaign, utter garbage. Tucker's trending on X because he said that of the DeSantis campaign. They're surrogates. That, you know, they're some of the nastiest people on the internet. That's what he said. My point is this. They insult Ron. They insult Vivek. They keep saying these things, but it doesn't matter. Because sooner or later, someone living in Chicago or in any urban district is going to stop and say, you know, Trump may be all the things you claim he is. He's also the only person who's trying to solve the problem I'm experiencing. And if we vote for Joe Biden, he will make it 10 times worse. By all means, call Trump whatever you want. People will still vote for it.
Didn't you say though that if like, you know, people vote for Joe Biden, then their kids won't have food, and then the fascist authoritarians will go into your house and steal your kids because of pronouns or some shit? That was you, right?
Cry about that, shaking your boots all day and night. You'll say, but Tim, isn't that scarier? I don't care. I don't. Because you are destroying this country. And Donald Trump is the only one talking about solutions. It's going to be a wild ride. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks, Frank.
Woo! Well, that was a lot. Yeah. So basically, I guess they're all kind of just like agreeing with Nick Fuentes now. That's how far we've come, where we're just kind of like, yeah, I mean, you could say that Trump is using Hitlerian speech, phrases, terms. Is he wrong? Is he wrong? Honestly? You know, would immigrants poison the blood of our nation? Question we got to ask ourselves. And does the wine mum in Sacramento, does she care? I don't think so. So you're all fucked. All of you are fucked. Yeah. Again, the shit you would hear fucking Fuentes say, and then everyone else would be like, oh, well, yeah, but Fuentes is the neo-Nazi. The rest of the right aren't actually that far gone yet, right? Like, there's more going on. So...
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Can you please hit the like and subscribe button and maybe leave a comment? It really does help the videos out. But first, the people who produce everything you see before you and make this entire channel possible: Amazing Fletch, Anna Loves Riley, Ariane McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Multimondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Puppy, Quiet 185, Rachel K, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby K, Cernicus, Spinach Monster, Stellar Vision, Sebastian Demel, Trevbot.exe, Words Greenwood, and Travis McClinton. And also, thank you to every other person who helps fund this show. Their names are on the screen right now. It would not be possible without every single one of them. We cannot thank you enough. And if you want to join the Patreon, please come to patreon.com/theserfs and help us exist.